Why do you do this to me? Hearts. Game. L, please. Keyboard, please. There's that. Put this up on Discord, yo. Put up Night Squad. Alrighty. Why are you honking? It's like 10 o'clock at night almost. Okay, I think I'm ready. I've got my notes. I'm ready to complete my journey of talking about Kingdom Hearts game design. I know nobody's here, but I'm just starting anyway because I'm fucking tired and I want to go to sleep. Okay, so the main thing that I need to address moving forward is that hi Blue Link. Welcome to me finishing up talking about Kingdom Hearts. Thank you for being here. How are you doing? Okay, cool. I don't play Final Fantasy 14. I know a lot of people that play it. So, yeah, no big worries. Thank you for joining. So I'm just gonna get started to finish talking up about Kingdom Hearts game design because I'm very tired and I just want to get this over with so I can move on with my life and start learning how to program in Unreal. So, okay, so the main thing moving forward, I am going to be talking about Dream Drop Distance, Kingdom Hearts 2.9, which is the label that I have given to key back cover, the 3D secret ending in Kingdom Hearts 0.2, and then Kingdom Hearts 3. But the thing is that with these three sections, they all are encompassed by what I label as Kingdom Hearts 3. Now, Coded and the Birth by Sleep secret ending closed off Sora's personal journey of finding his friends and returning home to Destiny Islands. He saved the worlds a couple times along the way, but Coded closes this journey and sets up the final confrontation between Sora and Master Xehanort. And Dream Drop Distance is where we see this confrontation begin. When I started this chronological series, in the back of my mind, I was hoping that me going through the game chronologically, the series chronologically, would fix the issue that Kingdom Hearts 3 has of its weird story pacing. And I was correct, but the answer to what makes Kingdom Hearts 3's base game pacing so odd is because Kingdom Hearts 3 is broken up between these sections I've mentioned: Dream Drop Distance, Key Back Cover, 0.2, and Kingdom Hearts 3 and Remind. And so Kingdom Hearts 3 does not begin with the title drop of Kingdom Hearts 3 in the base game. It does not begin with 2.9, which is the prologue of Kingdom Hearts 3. It doesn't begin with 0.2, Aqua's story. It begins with Dream Drop Distance, because this is where Sora and Riku and the current Keyblade heroes learn about Master Xehanort and his return. So playing through Kingdom Hearts 3, starting with Dream Drop Distance, helps the pacing so much, because the middle section of Kingdom Hearts 3 is actually 0.2. Aqua's story is the midpoint of Kingdom Hearts 3, in my opinion, going through all of this. Which makes all of Kingdom Hearts 3 itself kind of the end game. So I'd say from Keyback Cover, so doing Keyback Cover, the Dream Drop Distance Secret Ending 0.2, and Olympus in Kingdom Hearts 3, that is all the middle section. That is all this kind of... we had like a bit of a... so Sora has a bit of a setback. The heroes need to regroup, and then Sora comes back and he starts on his journey, which means that the actual chunk of Kingdom Hearts 3 that we experience is actually the end of Kingdom Hearts 3's story. So, that out of the way, I imagine I pissed off a couple people trying to figure out what the hell is going on in this series. So unfortunately, if you want to play Kingdom Hearts 3 and you want it to make sense, other than playing every other game, to get the full experience you have to start with Dream Drop Distance. So, let's get right into talking about the gameplay mechanics. So, this game, like Birth by Sleep and Coded, has the command menu. Unlike Coded and Birth by Sleep, the commands are actually unlocked through bonding with your Dream Eaters. So you pet your Dream Eaters, you have them in your party, and you get enough points to unlock commands or attack boosts, or what have you. So for example, Diego, which I've named after the saber-toothed tiger in Ice Age, if I were to link, do a link attack with Diego three times after unlocking this 200 point bubble, and I had 400 points, I'd be able to get the command Dark Splicer. What's really nice, a nice quality of life change that happens with the commands, is that commands are shared between Sora and Riku for the most part. There are some Sora and Riku specific commands, mainly darkness commands are specific to Riku, and more light-based ones are specific to Sora, but for the most part, you unlock a command, you get a command. That command you can use for both Sora and Riku. You don't have to collect it twice like you would have to in Birth by Sleep. So the Dream Eaters are your pet-like companions that act as party members. As I've already mentioned, commands and certain abilities can be unlocked by leveling them. So, again, going back to Diego here, so there are certain abilities that are only active if the Dream Eater is in your party. So, for example, if I unlock this attack boost, it's got this little Dream Eater symbol on it. Like anything with this little Dream Eater symbol, it's a buff that is only present on Sora or Riku if that Dream Eater is in your party. So if you remove this Dream Eater, you will not have that buff. Dream Eaters, like commands, are also shared between Sora and Riku. So if you have, for example, you really want to get Dark Splicer here, to have Diego both in Sora and Riku's party will increase the amount of link points the Dream Eater will get, which will help you get these more high-level commands faster. Now, with the Dream Eaters, there are link attacks. Now, for Sora, these are combo attacks, kind of like the limits in Cage 2, where Sora does a combo attack with a Dream Eater. For Riku actually absorbs the Dream Eaters, and that results in a form change from Birth by Sleep. So instead of doing an attack with a Dream Eater, Riku absorbs the Dream Eater and can go into Ghost Drive or do Blade Charge or something along those lines. Keyblades, again, Keyblades pretty standard. Keyblades are required through the main story and certain objectives. They offer certain extra abilities on top of adding to the base character's stats. A major addition to this game is Flow Motion. This is a special navigation moveset that is activated if the player rolls or slides into a wall or a pole. So, doing this, Sora and Riku are able to do these special parkour moves. You also gain a special attack for a short amount of time depending on what you're engaging with. So, there's a kick dive. My most overused one is the jump and the shockwave. There's quite a few other moves. Then there's the drop system. So this is drop meter. That once it depletes, this will result in the character switching. So once this drop gauge gets to 0, I will swap from Sora to Riku. However, drops can be forced by the player at any time. And drops can also be prolonged by the player by having certain items in your command deck. Such as, I believe it's a Drop Me Not. Yeah, so Drop Me Not, or Drop Me Never. They restored portions of the drive gauge. However, there are certain story elements that are locked behind having completed a world with Sora and Riku. So you can't just go through the entire game as Sora. After a certain point, you have to play the game as Riku in order to progress the main story. Reality shifts. So reality shifts are world-specific attacks that can be used in combat or to progress through a level. Let's see if I can head back here. I don't remember which way it's supposed to be. Here we go. So like Cage 2, Dream Drop Distance is very, very flashy combat. Let's see, are any of the buildings here? Are they any? There are no buildings. Cool. Alright, well, I want to show off a reality shift. Come on. No buildings? I guess I have to come from the other way around, I guess. Bummer. I would like to show off this reality shifts. Because they're kind of the more complicated ones to talk about. As opposed to everything else in the combat so far. As you see, flow motion can be used not only just to help out with your combat, it also uses to help you navigate around the level. Oh, thank you for the host, Sheriff. I really appreciate it. Where is these damn buildings? I know the buildings are supposed to attack. Oh, are you kidding me? That's weird. Normally, I'm supposed to have buildings flying towards me. I hope you're doing all right, Sheriff. Well, god damn it. There goes my... Anyway. Never mind. Alright, well, I guess we'll move on to the tutorial. I could always go to a different world, but that's a lot of work. For just showing off one tiny thing of gameplay. Shit. Get back to safe space. Alright. So, the tutorial for this game. So, I didn't start thinking about tutorials for the Kingdom Hearts games until I played through Dream Drop Distance. So Dream Drop Distance tutorials, there's actually kind of two types. There's a blatant tutorial and an integrated tutorial. So the blatant tutorial is at the beginning of the game you'll get a prompt that says, would you like to do this tutorial? Actually, you can visit the tutorials anytime in the menu. Let's see. Game help. Insert. Yeah, there we go. So, at certain parts in the game, you'll get these pop-ups for these tutorials, like the combat basics or the flow motion. These are blatant tutorials, and accepting it will take you to a space outside of the game space to learn the controls, and then it drops you back in. Oh shit, man, I'm sorry. Well, I hope things get better. Yeah. I'm sorry to hear, Sheriff. I do hope things get better for you. If you just want to vent, you can like DM me or something. I'm pretty busy most of the time though, so I don't know if I'll be able to respond in a timely fashion, but you know, if you just need to vent, let me know. Okay, so the nice thing about these tutorials is that they can be dismissed. So if you don't want a tutorial and just want to go in blind, go ahead. You can dismiss the tutorials, but the tutorials are always available in the main menu. Oh, that's good. I'm glad that you've talked to somebody. That's good to hear. Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's good. Yeah, shit's crazy this year, but I hope things get better, Sheriff. I really do. So so for the integrated tutorial, it stretches across 2 worlds. Destiny Islands, which isn't really a world. It's just kind of like an area with a boss fight, and then there's Traverse Town. So Destiny Islands introduces the base combat and the command deck in this game by just throwing you into a boss battle, which I believe it's might be the first. I think this is like the only Kingdom Hearts game where it drops you with a boss battle immediately. And then Traverse Town. Traverse Town introduces flow motion, dream eaters, and the drop system. So what's really cool about the tutorialization of flow motion and how it can be used to the player's advantage in combat and navigation is so cool and so well integrated that I didn't notice until when I was playing through this, and I've played through Dream Drop Distance quite a few times. So we are given the first 3 districts to explore, and each district introduces the player to each system. If this does like help you start the series, I'd be so happy. Again, I'm going to be talking about a lot of spoilers for like mechanics and tutorializations and stuff. So again, Sheriff, if you don't want to hear, there are spoilers here. So again, I'm giving you that that warning. So so the first 3 districts introduce the player to flow motion first, then dream meters, then the drop system. After this, so we are all introduced to these as Sora at first, and then after the second forced drop of the game, where you're dropped back to Sora, the player is able to explore all 3 districts, the first 3 districts at their leisure, to learn how to navigate these areas with flow motion. Because Traverse Town is a world that has been used as a tutorial world multiple times in Kingdom Hearts 1, Encoded, in Chain of Memories and in this game. To go through these districts again for the 4th time can get a little old, but the flow motion kind of opens up the level design a bit. But what's really cool is after we've explored all 3 districts, hey Tom, I'm doing alright talking about Cage level design stuff. How's it going with you? So what's really cool is that after the player progresses through the first 3 districts and gets a handle on the basics of flow motion and the new combat, the player is then allowed to progress to the back alley as Riku and the mail room as Sora. And what this does, these 2 areas open up the level design by introducing taller and wider levels that the player uses flow motion to get around. And these become playgrounds of sorts, where the players learn that they have more opportunities to explore the combat and navigation through flow motion. So they can wall jump or rail grind or progress through an area on foot if they're able to. So it's not just following one path. The player is able to progress to the next area in almost any way that they wish. More so with the back alley for Riku than for Sora, because Sora will have to use the grind rails to get to the next section. But for Riku, you can just kind of use flow motion to just kind of cheat your way up through the level, and that's allowed by the level design. And it's a great way to, again, tutorialize not only the flow motion, but how the player can use the flow motion to their advantage to explore these wider and taller levels. So the level design era is the 3D era. This is the start of the 3D era, where we have these large and tall levels with little nooks and crannies everywhere for treasure chests that you really didn't expect to find or you feel clever finding. These cleverly placed treasure chests, they encourage exploration, and they're a reward for that, like how they are in Kingdom Hearts 1. And as I've mentioned, flow motion allows the player to approach progressing through an area in multiple ways. But also these areas are wide. So like the KH2 area, these levels are wide and they allow for a lot of room for combat. That being said, because this is a 3DS game, the levels have no NPCs, so the levels feel very empty. They don't feel as empty when you're going through the story of the world, but when you're going back and there's no NPCs to talk to, you don't get to talk to Quasimodo or Neku or whoever, the levels do feel very empty. Thanks, Pixel. Thanks for stopping by and saying hi. I hope your streams have been going well. I'm sorry I haven't been able to see them. There are some ambient noises that are added to some of these levels that I don't remember hearing in the 3DS version. I think they might have been added for the PS4 version, like how I'm pretty sure 1.5 on the PS3 and this game actually added some ambient like bird sounds to Wonderland and stuff that I don't remember if it was in the PS2 version of the game. So the overall thoughts that I have about this game. Let me just say, I love Dream Drop Distance. Dream Drop Distance is such a fantastic game to me, and having a lot of it has to do with the level design and just the simplification of the command deck. Plus, there's no Agrabah, and the story is just a lot more fast paced. So there's just a lot I like about this game. So after playing through all of the games, Birth by Sleep, Kingdom Hearts 1, Chain of Memories, Days, KH2, and Coded, where you're visiting almost the same set of worlds over and over and over again, and the levels start to get more constricted and they feel smaller because you've been through them multiple times, to have just a fresh set of new worlds. Yes, you have Traverse Town, but you have the new additions to Traverse Town. Yes, you have Monstro, but you also have Prankster's Paradise on Sora's side. Yeah, you have Jensen's Tower, but hey, guess what? It actually opens to a musical realm. There's just a lot more to these levels, and they're more opened up, and just so much more refreshing. This game is a breath of fresh air, especially after going through Agrabah for like 5 games in a goddamn row. God, I hate Agrabah. So I always just love the level design. I'm going to talk about the level design first. So, the levels are varied, with the wide open areas and constricting corridors, and there's a lot more verticality to the levels, so navigation has once again become a fun challenge, which we haven't seen since Kingdom Hearts 1. There's clever treasure chests, and there's battle and link portals, with their own specific placements. Most of the areas in this game feel like actual places to explore as opposed to Disney's set pieces for battle, like the KH2 era games. And as I've already mentioned, there's amazing tutorialization, but there's also fantastic thematic design to some of these levels. And unlike Birth by Sleep, which had you also playing as multiple characters, same with Chain of Memories, Dream Drop Distance has different versions of levels to explore as Sora and Riku. So you're not just, there are some common areas, but it's not like you're going underground into the Disney Town gear area with the pinball thing 3 goddamn times. Or, traveling through Neverland's land area 3 times. Or, there are different areas to explore for Sora and Riku, so it makes playing these levels so much more, again, refreshing. There's no staleness to the navigation and the level design. So the command deck, this is the simplest iteration of the command deck that has been used. There's no command melding, there's no luck base. You get commands through treasure chests and dream eaters, and that's it. But what makes this command deck system of gameplay different from Birth by Sleep and even Coded is the addition of flow motion and the other movement commands. So instead of gameplay being a back and forth between using a command and then using a standard combo while you wait for a command to load, players can use flow motion or a reality shift, or they can use a link attack or a movement attack in addition to the combo or the command deck that you're trying, or the deck command that you're trying to use. That being said, flow motion, I will admit, is a little bit overpowered in this game. So because of that, the little bit overpoweredness of flow motion and just kind of how many options there are, combat can get a bit unruly. So sometimes you might accidentally just roll into an enemy and oops, you're in flow motion. I guess you're doing flow motion now. Or you're trying to do a reality shift, and if you're on the PS4 version, you will most likely accidentally use one of your commands because for some goddamn reason they mapped the reality shift to pressing triangle and circle at the same time, so you will most often end up using a command you didn't want to. But these additional movesets, the flow motion and the movement commands, they really do give the player more freedom to approach combat in their own way than just the base command deck or the card deck from Chain of Memories or even from Coded. But it doesn't do it in a way that's super overbearing, in my opinion. The combat feels... the combat becomes a lot more flashier and faster. Like, if you play Dream Drop Distance and then go back to Kingdom Hearts 1, it's amazing how much faster Sora is in Dream Drop Distance than he is in Kingdom Hearts 1. And even if you might accidentally go into flow motion, there's still that whole incredibly satisfying thing of if you beat a boss using a cool move, which this is carried over from the cinematic gameplay design of Kingdom Hearts 2. Same with a little bit of Birth by Sleep's flashy command styles. Just like the gameplay is kind of speed up, the storytelling in this game is faster paced. What's really cool, what I really appreciated, was the flashbacks. So the flashbacks break up what would have been long info cutscenes into more sizable chunks that move the story along a lot quicker with more relevant context. So, when we have the moment in Prankster's Paradise where Jiminy doesn't know who Sora is, instead of getting that information dump at the very beginning about, oh, you might see somebody here that you've known before, but it's just the dream world putting them where back where they belong, and then forgetting about that until you get to Prankster's Paradise, it's like, okay, we're gonna only give you that information when it comes up. And I really appreciate that. It keeps the fast-paced ness of the story. It just kind of keeps it going, keeps it flowing. Yes, there are still very long cutscenes in this game. It's a Kingdom Hearts game. So, but also this is one of the few Kingdom Hearts games that just drops you in the combat almost immediately upon starting the game. And the flashbacks keep up that momentum through the story. You really feel the urgency of Xehanort's return. From young Xehanort's reveal to Maleficent's kidnapping of Minnie to the manipulation of the World Ends With You crew. Like, all of this just feels like Xehanort is there. Xehanort has weight in the world. And every story beat, this fast-paced story beats, drive home the point that Sora and Riku need to get prepared for Xehanort's return. And again, the flashbacks, they really help with that. It's like, okay, we don't have a lot of time, just here it is, here's the information when you need it. We gotta keep going, we gotta go through the sleeping worlds because we need to get the power of waking, blah blah blah. And this is something that I wish that Kingdom Hearts 3 had done, instead of the diegetic recap where it was like, hey, here's this random tidbit from a game, from one of the previous games that's relevant, but also we're gonna give you a little bit more context just in case you're a new player. So it the story of Kingdom Hearts 3, the base game of Kingdom Hearts 3 itself does get a little bit bogged down with this, hey, you might be a new player, let's recap everything, as opposed to Dream Drop Distance, where it was like, hey, we've mentioned something from a previous game, here's a chronicle. So, if a character mentions a major point from, Chain of Memories, a skippable recap chronicle pops up, and those who are not caught up on the story, they can read it, and it's in the archives for later. See, you have Birth by Sleep, Kingdom Hearts, Chain of Memories, Days 2, and Coded. These all pop up for you to read about. And this again also keeps the pace up. It caters nicely to both new and longtime fans, because as somebody who's played through all of the games, I still read these, because for all you know, there could be a little hidden gem in the in what could be written here. Jiminy's journal is actually pretty interesting to read through, because you might get tidbits like the fact that Sora ripped a hole in the fabric of time. But we'll get to that later. Now, I'm talking a lot about the story. The story is a huge thing for this game. It is a huge thing in every Kingdom Hearts game. But this one is, again, it just sets up, Sora knows about Master Xehanort's existence. We gotta get prepared for him. And the story is just so strong in this game. I just really love the story of this game, but also how it's integrated into the game design and the level design. It's one of the few games in this series that does this integration. So, for example, from Kingdom Hearts 1, Hollow Bastion. Again, spoilers. So, Riku takes the Keyblade from Sora, right? Sora, unable to open up a door because he no longer has the Keyblade, and has been taken down to his lowest amount of strength and his lowest self-esteem. He has to explore the lowest parts of the castle with the beast in order to find the mechanism that opens the door. And once he gets the Keyblade back, he is now ascending through the castle, proving his strength by facing the strongest Heartless that the game throws at us. And if any of this sounds familiar, you might have watched Teal's video about Hollow Bastion, and I helped him write that. So so that's one example. So for this game, I've already mentioned Traverse Town. Its purpose, gameplay-wise, is to introduce the new mechanics in a familiar setting, and then take the player someplace new in the same world to see how much the player can do with it. It ties the drop system and the Dream Eaters to the main story, but it also foreshadows the main twist of the game early on. Again, spoilers for Dream Drop Distance story. So, regardless of what it is, video games always help during hard times. Yeah, they really do. What games have you been playing recently, Sheriff? I say as I will read that a little bit later. So again, spoilers for the main twist of Dream Drop Distance. The drop system in which Sora and Riku are falling asleep to switch between, so the player can switch between characters, that is addressed in the game. And they shouldn't be doing that. Sora and Riku should not be falling asleep, and the reason why they're falling asleep, again, not only just to introduce a drop system, but it's because the Mark of Mastery exam that they're taking has been hijacked by Xehanort. So it's the reason why these characters keep dropping. They're falling further and further into sleep. For Riku, the reason why he combines with his Dream Eaters to do a form change, as opposed to doing a team attack like Sora does, is because Riku is a Dream Eater in this game. Sora is not a Dream Eater, therefore he cannot combine with the Dream Eaters like Riku can. Let's see. A few other examples. Riku visits the inside of Monstro and experiences Sora's memories, as opposed to the dream version of that world. Now, this isn't confirmed, this is my interpretation of what's going on here. So, because Riku is inside Sora's dream, I believe that Riku is exploring Sora's memories, while Sora explores Prankster's Paradise. So while Sora is in Prankster's Paradise, Riku is also in that world. He's also in that, so Riku's also in that world, but he's exploring Sora's memories of that world. It's why we have Riku going through the events of Kingdom Hearts 1, where Pinocchio runs off with Riku, so again, that's integrating some gameplay and story. Sora uses a reality shift to reset Tron's code. He uses the code one, and resets Tron's code with his own memories in the grid. for more gameplay things, Sora is able to use Shadow Breaker. So one of the strangest things about this game is that Sora is able to use a darkness attack. And everybody thought this was a glitch, but I think it's because Sora is getting closer and closer to the darkness as he progresses through the game. So he is able to channel some of the darkness inside of his own heart. Riku, on the other hand, Riku is the only one who's able to use double flight. Which, while technically Sora's had double flight in Cage 2 using Master Form, double flight is given to Riku because he is rising out of the darkness. I have a couple of extra notes regarding that that I'm gonna find real fast. Been playing quite a few. Did the first Donkey Kong Country. I've been playing through Lego Star Wars 3, Clone Wars, and recently been playing Crash Bandicoot Prototypes. Crash Bandicoot Prototypes? What are Crash Bandicoot Prototypes? That's interesting. Like, can you explain further that, Sheriff? What are the Crash Bandicoot Prototypes? While I search my notes. And while I'm searching through my notes, I do want to make a note that not everything in the game is as deep. Like, for example, the Shadow Breaker thing is most likely reaching. You know, it's like, yeah, that's probably not actually the intended. That's probably not actually the intended purpose of why Sora has Shadow Breaker, but that's how I see it. Let's see. Where is it? Oh, I had no idea that there were prototypes of Crash games that have surfaced online. That's cool. So, I want to talk about a little bit more about the world that never was in this game because I think it's fantastic. So going back to Double Flight real fast, when... Oh, Spyro 1? Cool. So when Riku obtains Double Flight, in addition to, of course, finding out that the Market Master exam has been hijacked and Sora's in danger, when Riku got this command, and only Riku, I knew that Riku was going to pass the Market Mastery exam because this is Aqua's, like, one of Aqua's signature moves. And only Aqua got it. And Aqua is the only one who passed her Market Mastery exam. And as I said, it's a way to signify that Riku is rising out of the darkness. And this is also implemented in, again, like the level design. So, again, The World That Never Was has such amazing things with its level design, but also with its gameplay. So, again, Double Flight, but also the reality shift. So, for Riku, for Sora and Riku, the reality shift in this world is the... it's the gay blade. It's Sora and Riku doing a team attack with this nice, pretty rainbow keyblade. It's not gay at all, really. It's incredibly gay and it's beautiful. Where they are slashing through whatever the fuck is in front of them, right? So what's really cool about the use of this particular reality shift is how it is used for each particular character and how it relates to what they're going through. So for my favorite use of it is for Riku in the Walk of Delusions area. The Walk of Delusions starts as this maze-like room where you open up the room by performing the reality shift on an orb, and then it just opens up to this maze. And the further you go into this room and the more orbs that you reality shift, the more the area opens up and gets more twisted and confusing, until you use the reality shift on the final orb. And when you use the reality shift on that final orb, the room clears up and it reveals that this room was actually just a hallway. There is nothing inherently confusing about this room. It was just a hallway. And it's so appropriate that Riku's version of this reality shift is called Mirage Split, because Riku is cutting through the mirages. And for Sora's version, it's called Nightmare's End, and it actually does the opposite of what Riku's is doing. Every time Sora uses the reality shift in the Avenue to Dreams, which is Sora's starting area in the world that never was, it cuts through the buildings to reveal more and more confusing layouts to the level, and it never clears up. You get this overwhelmingly large level. The areas that Sora explores are taller as well, and there's more ways to move around to where you need to go, but because everything looks the same and every single time you use a reality shift, it just reveals more buildings. You get all turned around, and there's no fog here, but in one of the areas there's this fog that is skimming along on the ground, and it always personally gave me this feeling of it's just kind of sweeping you away, kind of like waves coming down on you. It all just adds more to Sora being dragged further down into darkness. And for this level, for this section of the area, the contorted city, if you could see on the left hand side of the map where you originally start, and you go towards the right where the Keyblade is, where I've exited, there's this spiral. And this signifies Sora going into a downward spiral where he's going further and further into darkness. And the game tricks you even by giving you commands like Ars Arcanum and Faith, and Salvation, that's what it was. Salvation, these light commands that you would think, oh, Sora's got these, he's gonna make it out. But no, he doesn't. He's been lured further and further down into the darkness. And it shows in this final spiral in the contorted city. And the contorted city itself is just so unnerving. Like, in the very beginning, the buildings are contorting, they're expanding, almost like they're breathing. It's so cool. And for Riku is inside the castle that never was, right? As opposed to Sora that's just going through the city. So Riku is going up through the castle. Now, so I'm very interested in vertical level design. It's what I've been trying to look into for the last year now. And to have for Riku is further rising out of the darkness. He is moving up the castle than never was. He gets double flight. Even though he's getting more darkness-based attacks, Riku is rising out of the darkness that has plagued him since Kingdom Hearts 1, and he gets all of these attacks like Mirage Split, cutting through the nightmares that Sora is experiencing in order to get to the top and rise out of the dreams to return to the real world and save his best friend. And this is all within the level design and the gameplay design, and it's so amazingly integrated. and it's not talked about enough. I love Dream Drop Distance, and there's so much more about Dream Drop Distance I could talk about, like theories about Sora's heart being the reason why everything's contorted or twisted and confusing in Riku's section or whatever, but also the anti-black coat nightmare. Is he actually Sora's perception of Riku because they have similar attacks, or whatever, right? There's just so much to talk about with Dream Drop Distance and its level design and its integrated story and all that, that I may go into at a later date, but for that I just wanted to talk about. But here's like the weird issue. As I've mentioned, Dream Drop Distance is what I consider to be the start, the first part of Kingdom Hearts 3, but it's in its own separate game. And I remember when I first played the game, and it seemed like the game ended too early. Like, after saving Sora, I thought there was going to be more to it. Like, it seemed like in this game that we were going to actually save Aqua and Terra and Ventus, but no, we didn't. But we got more clues about them. We just kept getting teased, more and more teased about Sora saving people. And the moment in which Sora's almost turned into a vessel, such a climactic moment, and it seemed like there was going to be more after that, but the game just kind of ends. And it's really, I found it very confusing. Which is why I think this game is the true beginning of Kingdom Hearts 3. This is the game where Sora learns about Xehanort. It's also where Sora has to confront the hurt inside of him, and the Lost Guardians of Light are very heavily involved in this game. How they present themselves to Sora through phantoms and figments of imagination, and this is kind of where the stakes are set, seeing how far Xehanort will go in order to forge the Keyblade. But the thing is that it takes an entire other game for the stakes to be acted upon, when it feels like it should have been acted upon here. So I have a feeling that Kingdom Hearts 3 was much, much bigger than what we got, because Dream Drop Distance was cut from the beginning, just as 0.2 was. It would have been amazing to actually, I don't know, have this be rebuilt in the Kingdom shader. But I would not wish that upon any developers. That would take forever. But after what happens in this game, there's this kind of reprieve that has to happen with our protagonists. And this is where I start what I call Kingdom Hearts 2.9, which I know I'm getting to Nomura territory here. So, Kingdom Hearts 2.9 consists of Key back cover, the Dream Drop Distance secret ending, and 0.2 final, 0.2 is the final chapter prologue. A fragmentary passage, right? I'm playing a final chapter prologue right now. It's 2.8. So this is going to be weird. I'm going to talk about 0.2's gameplay and its tutorial and its level design era. But when I go to my overall thoughts, I'm going to be talking about Key back cover and Dream Drop Distance's secret ending, even though those happened before 0.2. So 0.2 is the cut beginning of Kingdom Hearts 3. It was originally supposed to be the opening of Kingdom Hearts 3 that was sliced off and given to us in this kind of demo of sorts. And I should probably actually move on to 0.2. I love this music, so I'm a little sad to
Back off!
No! Sora, no. So 0.2 is made in the Kingdom shader. So this is the first game that is not using the graphics we've had since Kingdom Hearts 1. And it is the first glimpse that we get at Kingdom Hearts 3, the actual Kingdom Hearts 3, its combat. So, I'll load into the game. So when I switch to Kingdom Hearts 3, I will have to swap discs, so the stream will stop for a little bit, because, you know, it doesn't like you streaming when there's no game on. I wish my streaming setup was better. Okay. So, gameplay mechanics of this game. You have the original combat, which is the combat from Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2, and it's shown a little bit in Days, where you have your standard attack, magic, and items, and your summons, or whatever is the fourth, right? So for 0.2, there is magic in this game, but there is no magic progression. You are playing as Aqua, and therefore you are at your most powerful spell tier. This is supposed to be Aqua post Birth by Sleep. Oh god, she controls so slowly. So you have the Ga level spells, the Fire-Ga, Blizz-Ga, Thundaga, and Cura-Ga. We have the return of the Shot Lock. So this is a lock-on based crowd control attack, and cannot be used if the focus bar is depleted. The focus bar is depleted through use and can be recovered through save points or enemy drops. While very minimal in this game, there is flow motion. So the way it's implemented in 0.2, again, this special navigation moveset is through Blizzard. So if Aqua walks on ice, she slides on the ice, which is a beautiful quality of life thing. It's cool to see the magic affect the world in this way. Alright, so real quick thing with the shot lock. The nice thing about this, there's a quality of life improvement that has been made in this game. First of all, you control the shot lock with the right analog stick, or the left analog stick as opposed to the right, and it slows down time a bit, so it's a less risky command to use, and I personally use shot locks a lot more in 0.2 and Kingdom Hearts 3 than I did in Birth by Sleep. We have situation commands, which are basically reaction commands, but that's not what they're called in this game. Situation commands are special reaction command style attacks, or they're attacks that are built up through the situation bar. So if you'll watch in the left hand corner, when I get to some enemies, there are going to be some arrows that are building up. So you see the arrows in the bottom corner, the bottom left corner. So that's special commands. So it could be Grand Magic, which what you just saw there, which is Blizz-Cha, with a Che as opposed to Za in Kingdom Hearts 3. This is the final tier of the spell for Aqua. There's a form change, so for Aqua specifically, the upgrade to base combat, it is Spellweaver. Then there are team attacks, which are the they kind of just trigger randomly with your party member. For Aqua, it's only Mickey. The tutorial in this game, it is very clearly a tutorial. So you get to explore the Castle of Dreams. I wonder if I can go back. It's gonna take a long time for me to get there, though. Ouch. Oh, Mickey. Oh, is Mickey dead? He's not dead. Okay. Let me see if I can get back to Castle of Dreams here. Nice quality of life thing that Kingdom Hearts 3 and 0.2 add is the teleportation feature. So you don't have to like exit a world every single time you want to go to a different area of the level. It's real nice. So this tutorial happens in the Castle of Dreams. It's very clearly a tutorial that adds new moves as you complete certain objectives. So for Castle of Dreams, you're finding these gears that are scattered throughout the level. So this teaches the player to explore the level a little bit more, and once they explore that level, hit the gear, they are hey Lito, ooh, coding, fun. The player is rewarded, quote unquote, by finding these gears through the addition of their extra movesets, such as shot locks, the different magics, double flight, and all that. So the level design era of this game is the 3D era. We have these varied levels, wide areas, very tall sections, some constricting linear corridors with the Forest of Thorns. Each level in 0.2 has their own navigation challenges that are either tied by the story or the puzzles that are present in these levels. And exploration of levels is encouraged and rewarded with cleverly placed treasure chests. Drink a little bit of water here. So, overall thoughts. Now, this is not just talking about 0.2, this is also talking about key back cover and Dream Drop Distance's secret ending. And I mentioned this at the very beginning, but this is the only section where things aren't in chronological order, and this is because of how Kingdom Hearts 3's story is told. Key back cover, while taking place at the beginning of the timeline, it ends where 0.2 begins. So the very first cutscene of 0.2 is technically what would be the final cutscene of key back cover. It's tying these two storylines, to the past and the future, or the past and the present, I guess I should say, together. So again, key back cover is also key back cover is part of the future saga setup that Kingdom Hearts 3 has in there, which I have my issues with Kingdom Hearts 3 setting up the new saga more than it addresses its current saga, but that's for another time. Yeah, so real quick about 0.2. 0.2 takes place during Kingdom Hearts 1. Now, I didn't want to play 0.2 at the same time as Kingdom Hearts 1, because first of all, jumping back and forth between these two games would have been tedious for me. But it's also a flashback, in a sense, that is told after the events of Dream Drop Distance. So together, all of these stories, key back cover, the Dream Drop Distance's secret ending, and 0.2, they form an interlude of sorts. The midpoint allowing a little bit of breathing room for the heroes to regroup after what happens to Sora. And before Sora enters his final adventure. So, as I have gushed over Dream Drop Distance's level design, I will also gush over 0.2's level design. I love the 3D era of the level design for Kingdom Hearts. It's just so refreshing to have these varied levels to actually explore. So Castle of Dreams, as you saw, it's frozen in time. There are parts of the world that have been torn apart, while other parts of the world are completely normal. And the clock mechanic, the gears, they affect both the level and the story. Dwarf Woodlands, the world within, my favorite level in this game, has multiple mirror puzzles that turn the navigation on its head, while Aqua also faces her own phantom. Let me see if I can find, yes, my favorite one. An Enchanted Dominion has these like constant obstacles in the way of Terra and Ven. So progressing through these areas feels very desperate. You can tell that Aqua's kind of at the end of her rope, and she's very desperate for any sort of sign of her friends. And the levels are beautiful, they're varied, these open sections, and they're just a joy to progress through. So my favorite little puzzle is this right here, this mirror puzzle. So again, spoilers if you haven't played these. So the way these mirrors work is that these mirrors reflect what should be there. So if you approach the mirror, it takes the object that was here out of the mirror world and puts it into the real world that Aqua is in. And what's really cool is that they kind of ramp up the difficulty with these. So as you can see, there are moving platforms. So you go from having a stationary platform that you just have to materialize to materializing the platform in the right place in the right time so that Aqua can progress through. I just love this so much. I wish there were a few more things like this in Kingdom Hearts 3, but hey. And then of course here's the more ratcheting up of difficulty here. There's even a little extra puzzle there with the star pattern, but I don't really need to go into that. So the combat, for the most part in this game, I'm going to mainly discuss in Kingdom Hearts 3, as this is a very simplified version of the combat solely for Aqua's section of the game. We do see Aqua's controls return in her section in Kingdom Hearts 3, but you know, again, I want to talk about more with Kingdom Hearts 3, which I'm just about to get into. But I've already mentioned the quality of life improvements to the shot locks and the magic casting with the grand magics, and how the form changes are completely optional. It already makes this game fun to play, but there are some rough spots, of course. A thing that I was a little bummed out about was that they never updated 0.2. My hope was for Remind that they were going to re-add 0.2 to the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 3, now that Kingdom Hearts 3 was finished and Aqua's controls and the control of the game as a whole was a little bit more refined, I guess. But it kind of shows just how rough 0.2 is as the demo for Kingdom Hearts 3. Some of the navigation elements are a little bit frustrating, like the rail grinds and the automatic climbing. It's pretty rough, but it's not super horrible. And with that is that section done. The stream is probably going to stop for a little bit while I switch discs to Kingdom Hearts 3. So let me just do that real fast and I'll be right back.